I always thought I knew my husband. His habits, his voice, his silences, even the way he held my hand when he lied about being fine. But nothing prepared me for the moment I realized he had a secret. One he tried to hide in a language he believed I couldn't understand. Last Saturday, Ethan and I went to tour a house with a French realtor. He smiled, shook her hand, and the two of them began speaking French as if I were invisible. He assumed, like everyone else, that I only knew a few basic phrases. So I stayed quiet. I played along. I let him think I was clueless. But then he leaned in and whispered something to her. Just one sentence. Soft, calm, almost casual. And it froze me in place. Because the man I loved, the man I trusted, I've just told the realtor something in French that shattered everything I believed about my marriage. When we pulled into the driveway, I remember thinking how peaceful everything looked. A white two-story house, clean windows reflecting the sun, a small garden out front. It felt safe, familiar, almost too perfect, like something taken straight out of a real estate magazine. Ethan squeezed my hand. "Claire, I think you'll love this one," he said, eyes full of excitement. I smiled back, but something inside me shifted. It was subtle, like a draft slipping under a closed door, but it unsettled me. The French realtor, Madame Laurent, greeted us with a warm smile. She shook Ethan's hand first, then mine. Her accent was soft, elegant, the kind that made people lean in just to hear more. "Bonjour, monsieur. Bonjour, madame. Shall we begin?" Ethan nodded eagerly, stepping a little too close to her. Then he asked loudly, almost deliberately, "Claire, are you okay if I translate everything? She speaks French." I froze for half a heartbeat. He knew I'd studied French for years. He knew that. So why pretend otherwise? I forced a small laugh. "Sure," I said. "You can translate." Inside the house, sunlight flooded the living room. Ethan walked ahead with the realtor, pointing at walls, windows, details I barely cared about. I stayed a few steps behind, watching them, listening quietly. At first, it was innocent. Basic questions, light jokes. But the way Ethan's voice softened around her, the way she giggled at something he said, the way he didn't look back at me even once, a strange heaviness settled in my chest. And for the first time in our marriage, I felt like an outsider, in a room that supposedly belonged to both of us. We moved deeper into the house, the kitchen first, then the dining room, each space perfectly staged with soft lighting and spotless countertops. Ethan walked beside the realtor, practically glued to her side, while I kept a few steps behind, pretending to admire the decor. Pretending. Everything I did that day was pretending. In the kitchen, the realtor pointed at the marble island and said in French, "La cuisine a été rénovée l'année dernière." The kitchen was renovated last year. Ethan nodded, then replied smoothly, "C'est parfait. Ma femme adore ce genre de style, même si elle n'y connaît pas grand-chose." It's perfect. My wife loves this style, even if she doesn't know much about it. My hands tightened around my purse. Did he just say that? To a stranger? I forced myself to look calm, tracing the countertop with my fingers. But inside my chest, something twisted. We walked toward the living room, and the realtor lowered her voice slightly. "Votre femme semble très gentille." Your wife seems very kind. Ethan laughed softly, a laugh I had never heard from him. "Oui, elle est gentille, mais elle ne comprend pas ce genre de choses." Yes, she's kind, but she doesn't understand these things. These things? What things? My lungs felt tight, but I stayed silent. He wasn't just talking about the house. He was talking about me, as if I were a simple-minded accessory tagging along. Then, as they walked ahead, he glanced back at me just once, with a smile so sweet it made me sick. Because now I knew that smile wasn't love. It was a mask. A mask hiding a conversation he thought I would never understand. And yet, I understood every single word. We moved upstairs, our footsteps echoing softly against the wooden steps. I tried to steady my breathing, tried to tell myself I was overreacting. Maybe Ethan was just trying to impress the realtor. Maybe he didn't mean anything by those words. But my instincts were screaming. At the top of the stairs, sunlight spilled through a large window, painting the hallway in warm gold. I stepped closer, pretending to admire the view, while Ethan and the realtor lingered near the master bedroom door. That's when it happened. Their voices dropped quiet, intimate, almost conspiratorial. I tilted my head slightly, keeping my eyes on the window. The realtor whispered, Monsieur, vous vouliez aussi voir la pièce spéciale? Sir, you also wanted to see the special room? My blood ran cold. The special room? Ethan's reply was low, almost eager. Oui. Elle ne sait rien. Je veux que ça reste entre nous. Yes. She knows nothing. I want it to stay between us. My fingers slipped from the windowsill. I couldn't breathe. The realtor hesitated. Et c'est pour elle? Ou pour quelqu'un d'autre? And is it for her? Or for someone else? There was a pause. A long, heavy, suffocating pause. Then Ethan chuckled that soft, unfamiliar sound again. Dissons. Quelqu'un d'autre. Let's just say, someone else. My stomach dropped. Someone else? I pressed a hand to my mouth, forcing myself not to gasp. My heart pounded so hard I felt it in my throat. The realtor asked, Elle le saura un jour. Will she know one day? Ethan answered without hesitation. Non, jamais. No, never, never. The man I loved, the man I shared a bed and a life with, was planning something behind my back. A secret room, someone else. And I was never supposed to know. At that moment, the warm, sunlit hallway felt cold and foreign. I understood now. I wasn't just being left out. I was being lied to. Deliberately. Carefully. Cruelly. And whatever Ethan was hiding upstairs in that perfect house, it was going to destroy us. I spent the rest of the tour pretending. Pretending the house was lovely. Pretending nothing was wrong. Pretending I hadn't just overheard my husband planning a secret room for someone else. My smile hurt. My throat hurt. Everything hurt. As we walked back downstairs, Ethan slipped an arm around my waist. What do you think, Claire? Nice, right? His touch felt foreign, like a stranger brushing my skin. I forced a nod. It's okay. He studied my face for a moment. Are you tired? You look pale. I wanted to scream. I look pale because you're lying to me. But I only replied, just hungry, I guess. Madame Laurent handed Ethan a folder of documents. Her fingers lingered on his just a second too long, and he didn't pull away. Call me anytime, she said in French. Je suis à votre service. I'm at your service. I watched Ethan's lips curve into a smile I hadn't seen in months. On the drive home, Ethan hummed along to the radio, relaxed, cheerful, completely unaware that my world had just cracked open. I stared out the window, gripping my knees so tightly they ached. He asked casually, Claire, baby, you didn't say much today. You sure you're okay? Okay? Nothing about this was okay. But I wasn't ready to confront him, not yet. I needed to understand more. I'm fine, I lied. Just thinking. He reached over to squeeze my thigh. Don't worry. Everything will make sense soon. The words hit me like ice water. Everything will make sense soon? What was that supposed to mean? When we got home, Ethan kissed my forehead and went upstairs to shower. The moment I heard the water running, I sank onto the couch, trembling. My mind kept replaying those whispers. A secret room. For someone else. She will never know. I pressed my hands to my temples, trying to calm myself. Was Ethan cheating on me? Was he planning to hide another woman? Or, worse? A sickening thought struck me. What if he never meant for me to find out? What if he was building something in that room that would change our marriage forever? I needed answers. Real answers. Not from him, not yet. I would have to find them myself. Because for the first time since marrying Ethan Miller, I couldn't shake the fear that my husband was a man I didn't know at all. The next 3 days felt like walking through fog. Ethan acted normal, too normal. He made breakfast, kissed my cheek before work, sent cute emojis during lunch. But every small gesture felt choreographed, rehearsed, like a man performing the role of perfect husband. Because he was hiding something. On the third afternoon, I finally broke. Ethan said he needed to run an errand. His tone was casual, but the way he grabbed his keys too quickly, the way he avoided my eyes, told me everything. The moment he left, I followed him. I kept my distance, my heart pounding in my ears as I trailed his car through downtown Seattle. He turned into a quiet street and parked beside a small cafe with outdoor seating. I stayed inside my car, watching from behind tinted windows. A few minutes later, a woman approached him. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with soft brown hair, bright eyes, and an anxious expression. She looked nothing like me. Shorter, slimmer, prettier in a fragile sort of way. Ethan stood up when he saw her. And then, he hugged her. Not a friendly hug. A long, tight one like he was holding someone who needed him. My stomach twisted painfully. When they sat, leaning close over the tiny cafe table, I cracked my window just enough to hear. The woman's voice trembled. "Ethan, did you talk to her yet? Talk to me? About what?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. She's not ready." "Not ready? For what?" The woman squeezed his hand and he didn't pull away. "I'm scared," she whispered. "He followed me again yesterday." My breath caught. "Followed her?" Ethan leaned closer, voice low but urgent. "Jenna, listen to me. Once the room is ready, you'll stay there for a while. Claire won't know. You'll be safe." My heart stopped. Jenna. Someone else. The secret room. The dots connected themselves violently, cruelly, devastatingly. My husband wasn't just hiding a woman. He was planning to hide her inside our future house. I covered my mouth to stop a sob. Inside the cafe, Jenna's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to ruin your marriage." Ethan reached for her hand again. "Don't worry about that. Claire trusts me too much." The edges of my vision blurred. My husband, the man who vowed to love me, was comforting another woman, reassuring her with the exact tenderness I used to receive, and he said I trusted him too much. A laugh broke from my throat, a broken, trembling sound. Ethan had no idea. He had no idea I was sitting just outside, watching my world fall apart through a windshield. He had no idea that every word he spoke in French, every secret he whispered upstairs in that perfect house, was now unraveling into something far darker than betrayal. I sank lower in my seat, gripping the leather until my nails hurt. In that moment, one truth became painfully, brutally clear. Whatever Ethan was planning for Jenna, he never intended for me to know. And now that I did, everything was about to change. I didn't remember driving home. I didn't remember parking, or walking up the stairs, or opening the door. All I remembered was the numbness, a cold, empty numbness that settled into my bones like ice. My husband was planning a secret room for another woman, a woman he held, comforted, whispered to, a woman he was willing to hide from me. I stared at our living room, the couch we cuddled on, the lamp he bought for my birthday, and suddenly, everything felt wrong, like a life I had stepped into by mistake. That night, while Ethan showered, I made the decision that changed everything. I picked up his phone. He never locked it. He always claimed he had nothing to hide. What a joke. I opened his messages, scrolled, read everything, and then I found it. A folder labeled J.L. Private. My fingers shook violently as I tapped it open. There were photos of Jenna bruised arms, a swollen lip, hospital wristbands. There were documents filed under police reports. There were audio notes, her voice trembling as she described someone pounding on her apartment door late at night. But then, I opened a PDF labeled Safety Plan Transition Room. The first line hit me like a punch. Create a temporary secure room for Jenna Lewis until her abuser is arrested. Claire must not know to reduce emotional trigger risk. Trigger risk? Emotional trigger? I felt dizzy. I scrolled hard in my throat until I found a note written by Ethan himself. Claire has a trauma history. I don't want her exposed to Jenna's situation too soon. She'll panic. She'll relive it. My breath stilled. Trauma history? I hadn't spoken about my past with Ethan since early dating. I barely remembered telling him some drunken, broken confession about an ex who hurt me years ago. Something I thought I had buried deep enough to never dig up again. But Ethan remembered, and he chose to protect me by shutting me out. My chest tightened painfully. I didn't know whether to scream or collapse. Just then, the bathroom door opened. Steam rolled out, followed by Ethan towel around his waist, hair damp, humming softly. He froze when he saw the phone in my hand. We stared at each other in a thick, suffocating silence. Finally, he whispered, "Claire, what did you read?" My voice cracked. Everything. His face drained of color. I held out the phone, my hands trembling violently. "Who is she, Ethan? And why the hell were you planning to hide her in our house? In a secret room you didn't want me to know about?" He swallowed hard. "Claire, it's not what you think." I laughed, a sharp, broken sound. "Oh, really? Because it looks exactly like what I think." He took a step toward me, panic rising in his eyes. "Listen to me. Jenna isn't your lover?" I snapped. "Your secret girlfriend? The woman you hug in cafes and whisper to in French so your wife won't understand?" He flinched. "Claire, please. It's not an affair, I swear. Then what? I shouted. What is she? He hesitated too long. Way too long. And that hesitation? It shattered something inside me. I backed away. Don't come closer. I don't recognize you right now. His voice cracked. Claire, she's not my mistress. She's my patient. I froze. Patient? She's a domestic violence victim, he continued, voice trembling. Her ex-husband is hunting her. She has no family, no safe house. I was trying to help her, without triggering your trauma. My heart pounded so loud I could barely hear him. I wanted to protect you, Claire. Not hurt you. Never hurt you. But all I could see were the hugs, the whispers, the French conversations, the secret room, the lies. And you thought the way to protect me, I whispered. How was to shut me out? To lie to me? To make decisions for me? His eyes glistened. I was wrong. I know that now. I shook my head, tears spilling over. You didn't trust me with the truth. Not even the smallest part of it. Ethan's voice broke completely. I was terrified you'd think I was cheating. I was terrified you'd leave. I stared at him, this man I thought I knew. And for the first time, I saw him clearly. A man drowning in fear. A man trying to protect too much. Too quietly. Too secretly. A man who loved me. And lied to me in the name of that love. My voice barely left my throat. I need time. I need space. I can't breathe here. He reached for me, but I stepped back. Please, Claire, he whispered. Don't walk away. But I already had. I grabbed my coat, keys, and bag with shaking hands, opened the door, and stepped into the cold night air. The last thing I heard before the door closed was Ethan's broken whisper. I'm so sorry. Please come back. But I didn't turn around. Not yet. I had to leave. Because the truth wasn't just painful. It was suffocating. And now that I knew everything, I wasn't sure if our marriage could survive what came next. I stayed at my friend Madison's apartment for 3 nights. 3 nights of silence. 3 nights of replaying Ethan's words in my head. 3 nights of asking myself whether love still meant anything when trust had already bled out. Madison kept telling me, Claire, he didn't cheat. He tried to help someone. But betrayal isn't always about another woman in your husband's arms. Sometimes, betrayal is a secret. Sometimes it's a choice someone makes for you. Sometimes it's the lie behind the truth. On the 4th morning, I woke up with a decision sitting heavy inside me. I needed to hear Ethan say everything. Clearly. Directly. Face to face. No French. No whispers. No half-truths hidden behind, I wanted to protect you. I drove home with shaking hands. When I walked in, Ethan was sitting at the dining table, head bowed, elbows on his knees like he hadn't slept in days. He stood immediately. Claire. I raised a hand. Sit. We're talking, not arguing. He swallowed, nodded, and sat back down. I took the chair across from him, creating distance neither of us had ever felt before. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Ethan whispered, I thought you weren't coming back. I wasn't sure myself, I said quietly. His shoulders sagged. I placed my palms flat on the table. Start from the beginning. No softening. No hiding. I want the whole truth. Ah. He inhaled deeply. And for the first time, Ethan didn't rush to defend himself. He looked exhausted, ashamed, human. Jenna came to me 6 months ago, he began. She was terrified. Her husband had broken into her place twice. The police were slow. She had nowhere safe. I listened, forcing myself not to react. I wanted to help her. Given your past, I didn't want you exposed to all that trauma again. I thought keeping her situation separate from our home would protect you. That's not protection, I murmured. That's erasure. He flinched but nodded. You're right. I see that now. I leaned back. Why the French, Ethan? Why talk behind my back in another language? His voice cracked. Haveniz. Because I knew if you understood even one word, you'd sense something was wrong, and I couldn't risk hurting you. I stared at him, stunned. That's the problem, I whispered. You decided my limits for me, my boundaries, my emotions. He buried his face in his hands. I didn't want to lose you. You almost did. His head jerked up, eyes full of panic. Claire, don't say that. Please. I love you. I love you more than anything. Then trust me enough to tell me the truth, I snapped. Do you know what it felt like? Hearing you whisper to another woman? Watching you hold her? Seeing you plan a room I wasn't allowed to know about? Tears filled his eyes. I wasn't cheating. I swear on my life. I closed my eyes, breathed shakily. I know that now. But the damage? It's real, Ethan. You shut me out because you thought my past made me fragile. He reached across the table. Claire, your past makes you strong. I didn't see it then. I was wrong. I was stupid. I was terrified of failing you. His words softened me. And that scared me more than the anger, because part of me still loved him fiercely. Painfully. Dangerously. I finally met his eyes. So what now? Ethan inhaled slowly, voice steadying. We fix this. Together. Therapy. Honest conversations. No more hiding. I'll prove to you that you're my partner, not someone I need to shield from life. My throat tightened. I need time. He nodded instantly. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Silence settled over us, heavy, fragile, full of things still unsaid. But for the first time since all this began, it didn't feel like two people drifting apart. It felt like two people wounded, bleeding, scared, but still reaching for each other through the cracks. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I whispered the words he needed. And I feared, I'm not giving up on us, Ethan. But we have to rebuild everything, from the ground up. A tear slipped down his cheek. Then let's start today. And for the first time in weeks, I let him hold my hand. Not because I fully trusted him again, but because trust, like love, can be rebuilt if both hearts choose to stay. Healing isn't a straight line. I learned that the hard way. The week after we confronted each other, Ethan and I lived in a strange, quiet rhythm, not quite together, not quite apart. We shared a home, shared a kitchen, shared the air between us, but not the trust. Not yet. He slept on the couch without me asking. He cooked dinner but didn't insist I eat. He walked softly, talked softly, breathed softly, as if afraid even his presence might break me again. One evening, after days of silence, he knocked gently on the bedroom door. Claire, can we talk? I hesitated, then opened it. He stood there holding a small folder. I terminated the secret room project, he said quietly. And I'm no longer Jenna's case handler. I transferred her file to another specialist. I can't keep anything in my life that risks hurting you. The gesture cut deeper than I expected. Ethan, I whispered, I never asked for that. I know, but I needed to show you that I'm choosing us transparently. He stepped back, giving me space. There's something else, he said. I called a couples therapist. If you want, we can go. Together. A breath escaped me. Not relief, not yet, but something gentler. A soft exhale of possibility. 2 days later, we sat in a warm office filled with plants and the smell of lavender. Dr. Harper, our therapist, listened patiently as I described the moment I stood on those stairs, hearing Ethan whisper in French. My voice cracked when I said, I didn't just feel betrayed. I felt invisible. Ethan's eyes glistened with grief. I made decisions out of fear, he admitted. Not because I didn't love her, but because I loved her so much I forgot she wasn't fragile. I treated her like someone who needed protecting instead of a partner. Dr. Harper nodded slowly. Love without honesty, she said, becomes a cage even when the door is built with good intentions. Those words hit both of us hard. Session after session, layer by layer, Ethan and I unpacked the truth. I wasn't weak. He wasn't unfaithful. But our silence had become a third presence in our marriage, louder than either of us, and we needed to confront it. Healing didn't come suddenly. It came in tiny steps. Ethan began speaking openly, even when the truth was uncomfortable. I stopped assuming the worst and started asking questions instead of swallowing fear. He learned that honesty wasn't a threat to me, it was safety. I learned that love didn't require blindness, it required courage. One night, weeks later, we stood on the balcony of our apartment, city lights flickering like scattered stars. He wrapped his arms around me, gently, carefully, as if asking permission. I didn't pull away. Ethan, I murmured. Do you ever think about us? About what we almost lost? He kissed my temple. Every day. And every day, I choose you again. I closed my eyes. For the first time since that awful day in the house, I felt the walls inside me soften. Just a little. 2 months later, we went to see another house. A different realtor. A different neighborhood. A different version of us. This time, Ethan held my hand the entire tour. He leaned in and whispered, What do you think, Claire? Not in French. Not in secrets. but in honesty. I smiled. Let's build something real this time. Together. Ethan nodded, eyes warm. No more walls. No more secret rooms. I intertwined my fingers with his. Only one home, one life, one truth. And for the first time in a long time, that future didn't scare me. It felt possible. It felt right. It felt ours. Not perfect, but real. And sometimes, real is better than perfect.